This is Hector Diaz here, also known as Charisma of Kurriizmatic. I am the founder and designer. My brand, Kurriizmatic, is a sustainable, genderless, bespoke brand that focuses on creating one-of-one pieces that can transform into multiple different items, and they're made out of your everyday pieces. What we should be aiming for is people to be more conscious of different styles, sizes, and bodies. And it's something that I've been pushing myself and my peers to do for quite some time. This dress has different ways and methods of being worn and sort of styled. So let's say I have these clip system here with these pulleys. If I remove this right here, check, it becomes longer and flows more towards the waist. If I unclip this part here, now it loosens up more and has more flair to it. The back is also adjustable too. You can pull it down more, you can bring it up more. There's a tie right here you can use to tie it more. Like if I was to undo this, for example, now this loosens this part right here, so there's more fabric on this side. You can even make a bow on the front if you want. The adaptability of garments is always going to be a key function in the way that I make things. My grandma was everything to me. She was my mentor, my best friend, my caretaker. She used to own a tailor factory over on Canal Street. I went up to her and I said, hey, I have these shirts here and I have this sweater here. Can we cut these up? And can you teach me how to sew them so I can match my shoes with my shirt? It was something so simple, but at that young age, I wasn't understanding at that time what I was doing was I was upcycling. I went to SCAD, which is the Savannah College of Art and Design in Atlanta. So the pandemic really defined what Kurriizmatic would become. I had to go back to live with my grandmother in Florida because you didn't really have a place to stay if you don't have no money. Through it all, I persevered, and the most important thing I would say that really did good to define Kurriizmatic is I went back to my roots. I went back to her and said, hey, do you have clothes that you want to get rid of? I have an idea. So instead of going out to purchase like all these fabrics and all that stuff with money I didn't have, I looked around and said, wow, there's so many clothes here that didn't really get used or stuff that she's been collecting. So I said, I'm gonna try something. So I remember the first time I did this, I cut all these pieces up and I created like my first fabric swatch of like the Kurriizmatic like pieces, which is again just weaving t-shirts together. I didn't know it at first, but that would become revolutionary for me. Like that would literally define what Kurriizmatic is all about, is my weaving and my ability to create like pieces from other pieces. Fast forward to my final collection and thesis, it went on to win a lot of accolades. It got me into Paper Magazine, it got me into WWD, Women's Wear Daily. It also got me into the CFDA's like top graduates of the year. In Buddhism, you have like this never-ending cycle called samsara, which is like you constant death and rebirth over and over. My idea is to introduce the nirvana, basically to break the cycle and say no more clothes in landfills, no more constantly reproducing things. There's 9 generations worth of clothing that are in landfills at the moment. I personally do not believe in making anything new or anything from like other materials that are like produced in a factory that's brand new until those 9 generations worth of clothing are all gone. The design philosophy behind Kurriizmatic is wabi-sabi, or finding perfection in imperfections. Essentially, let's say I'm sewing something and I'm like, oh, it's crooked. But I'm like, you know what? A crooked line doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It can actually kind of look cool, especially if you make it intentional. Because then I could just add on even more cooler or weirder things, and then all of a sudden it turns into something that I actually like even more, whether I just stuck to structure and orders. Because again, it's my rebellious nature. And more importantly, it all depends on what I have like, around me. You see how each time there's like a different like color or a different material? That's a different garment. Because like this whole hat can tell you a story. Like this was someone's dress right here. This was someone's like, top. These were some pants right here. It's very like maximalist, but it's also so structured and ordered to the point where it's like, it really brings you in. And that to me is what Kurriizmatic's all about, is bringing people together. With the way climate change has been affecting the planet and all that stuff, what is a spring summer to someone who's like completely like lost like their winter times? It's always spring summer for them. For me, it's like, I don't think we should be basing things off of weather calendars and sort of periodical dates. That's the reason why I do collections like C1, C2 and all that stuff, because collections are timeless. The first collection, Dreamtopia, was this idea of starting off and like really creating Kurriizmatic and defining like, this is Kurriizmatic's brand, this is the logo, this is the identity. It's all about dreams. It's all about how we interpret dreams and how I can bring my dreams into reality by weaving them. And the parallel to that would be seed 2, which is pandemonium, which is about nightmares and how we have nightmares and overcome them. And then the third collection was interesting because it would be, span the entire year 2024. The entire collection is called also Sprach Zarathustra, which is like based off of Friedrich Nietzsche's work. He's a German philosopher. I always like to do a little bit of elevating each time around. So the fourth collection, Avernus Imperius, was very much based off of this like Roman Empire meets this sort of gothic, dark tempo nightmare. And it was a very important collection for me because it was the first time I ever showed at New York Fashion Week, which had been a dream of mine. The last collection was the fifth one, Khayal, which means imagination in Arabic. Imagination in fantasy can really encompass a lot of things. So I thought about what does it mean to start with the fantasy and the imagination. It comes from the mind. And to me, the mental state is the most important thing because you have to have a strong mental state and mental health in order to be a strong person. I had thought about all the times in my life where I'd, reached my breaking points and stuff, like just felt like it didn't work, And I suffered from a lot of self-conscious issues, I came pretty close at times, to just ending it all, I'll be honest with you. So what I felt like was the most important thing to me was to take a step back to my roots and say, what my family had taught me the most is that I feel good when other people feel good. That's when I reached out to this organization called SAVE. They're a nonprofit based out in Minnesota. And we have this amazing collaboration that I've been doing where essentially I've dedicated my fifth collection to sort of helping them. What had started as first as just me wanting to just help the organization came into a whole other idea. I said, how can we redefine what Fashion Week is? It went from me just wanting to go in Fashion Week to making a statement about mental health and all stuff to putting on a whole show dedicated to mental health awareness and all stuff. It wasn't just me, it was like me and 4 other designers all showcasing our work, and all the money that we made went right back to organization. Kurriizmatic had grown to the point where other brands, other people, other organizations wanted to collab and work with us. So that's when Collection 5 became Weaving for Change, which is the sort of the motto and the mantra that we have on my website. 10% of all sales that I make goes right back to SAVE. My goal this time around is for the next collection to do even bigger. The theme or the motto of the show is like, it's a home for everybody. Because, now that we've all made it here, now that we're all back, in New York and all that stuff, we're here to stay. Like, this is our home. Home is where the heart is. And like, New York is home to so many different people and so many different backgrounds. We want to be able to showcase that.